Scene 5, the culmination, the ending of the particular play. Late in the day, that second battle has been raging and it's going on. We will see if Brutus is still victorious over Antony. If Antony, we just saw a little bit of his strength in that he took a couple people, so maybe the tides have changed. Look at Brutus's demeanor. Look at his mindset compared to what we saw with Cassius just a few pages back. And what does Brutus do? Is he victorious? Is he in defeat? If he is in defeat, what choice is he going to make? And then ultimately at the very end, what are the kind words being said about the slain individual? It's over. Act 5, Scene 5, the culmination of the plot. We have Brutus in defeat. He does play the Roman fool, to quote the Macbeth play. He doesn't, okay, stab me now, like the coward Cassius. He says, you hold this, hold it firm, while I run upon it. So he is, he's still killing himself in a way, but do you see how it's kind of, the thoughts are a bit different in the actual execution of the act, and so that really plays out, and we see the culmination of, like I said, the plot, but then we see what Octavius and Antony specifically, what he thinks of Brutus. And just looking at the very last two paragraphs, the phrasings there, Antony says that this was the noblest Roman of them all. All the conspirators, save he, did that they did in envy of great Caesar. He, Brutus, only in a general, honest thought and common good to all, made one of them. So he only joined because of his honesty and that this is the best for Rome. And we saw from the beginning Cassius's bad feelings towards Caesar, and that probably he just didn't like Caesar, didn't want him and have to bow to him and all that. But for Brutus, he loved him. But he loved Rome more. And remember, I talked about that throughout the play. That was his motivation, all of his decisions. And his enemy, the person that Brutus would have killed if the opportunity arose, and if the tides had changed, he would have killed Antony, but yet Antony still thinks very highly of him. He says that there was a man. This was a man. And if you follow the footnotes, it says that the Elizabethans, so people at time period, believed that 4 elements, earth, water, air, and fire, in the body determined a person's temperament. And Antony says that Brutus is the elements, that the elements were balanced perfectly. So he was the perfect person, and he was the man. It's not like nowadays, man, he's the man. It's a bit different. There was a little bit more behind it. And that's one of those things with footnotes that are really helpful because we don't think of that and we wouldn't get the meaning if we didn't know that. So follow footnotes. Octavius, look what he even says, the young ruler. He goes, according to his virtue, let us use him with all respect and rites of burial. Within my tent his bones tonight shall lie, most like a soldier, ordered honorably. So call the field to rest and let's away, to part the glories of this happy day. So call the rest, blow the trumpet, say the battle's done. It's over. The 2 opposition conspirators are dead. We're victorious. Let's just talk about it and see what the future has in store for us being victorious on this day. Brutus had problems finding somebody to hold the sword. As things were going bad, he was getting depressed. He'd whisper in one ear, don't ask that of me. No, I will not do that. And so it was fine. I think it was on the 3rd try, they finally got somebody to hold it. And it was a Strato. And that individual, he did it. And when they were asking him what happened, he says, Messala, Brutus's man, says, oh, my master's man Strato. Where is thy master? Free from the bondage you are in, Messala. The conquerors can but make a fire of him. For Brutus only overcame himself, and no man else hath honor by his death. So no one took honor. He ended his way nobly, like we all said he would. even though Brutus inside felt a little bit cowardly for doing it. But he is the most noble Roman, and he is the protagonist of the story. He is the person that we see and experience and feel emotionally connected to throughout this, even though he was part of the murdering faction that took care of Caesar. This is really the tragedy of Brutus. Okay? And if he had just made one different choice, not sparing Antony's life, look at how things could have changed if they had killed Antony. Or even if he let him live, but then not let him speak. Who knows how things would have been different. And that's really his big flaw of the overall piece was, not being as gruesome as everybody else. But, in essence, that's not his character. He is the noble individual. So, I hope you enjoyed the play. I mean, it's one that I think it's short. There are only 3 scenes in 3 of the 5 acts, which overall that's pretty short. Scene-wise, some of the scenes were a little lengthier than others. But I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you saw the range of emotions from these characters, the motivations of Cassius as being kind of a conniving villain, and then took the cowardly way out. Go ahead, stab me. And then we see how Brutus and he differ, even though they are side by side and friends. And you can see the decisions, and over time, after the death of 2 years, how they were hot and cold for each other, but then ultimately, friendly and cordial at the end. And then even after 2 years of planning and this big war, Antony and Octavius still think very highly of Brutus. So that's one thing that Cassius was not being conniving and lying about. He was, you, Brutus, are noble. Everybody thinks highly of you. And Brutus, even in death, even after being deemed a traitor, 2 years on the run, his wife commits suicide, he is still considered a noble individual. And so that's really the tragedy of it, the sadness that individual had to succumb to, himself, but to the situation. So